Today we're going to find out just how far you can get on the hardest map in all of BTD5, Tar Pits. And we're not playing on easy mode either. Rather, we'll be playing on the highest difficulty in the entire game, Mastery Impoppable. Now, I will be enabling premium upgrades because honestly, I don't think I could even beat Tar Pits on Mastery Impoppable without them, especially not without double cash in particular. I also do have my monkey knowledge laboratory maxed out, which will make our towers as strong as they can possibly be, and I'll also enable different tower specialist buildings as they're needed as well. Starting off, I'm using the dart monkey specialist building, as this will give me the best chance of surviving, at least in the first few rounds. You see, the reason that Tar Pits is so difficult is because it has 5 tiny paths to defend all at once, which makes it really hard just to even get started. Especially since we're playing on Impoppable mode, which means that leaking just one balloon at any point during this run will end the entire thing. So, the Dart Monkey is really useful here because it's the cheapest tower in the game, which allows us to afford enough of them to actually cover all 5 paths on round 1. And it definitely doesn't hurt that their specialist building gives us an additional free Dart Monkey as well. Keep in mind, since we're playing on Mastery mode, every balloon is 1 rank higher than normal as well, meaning the game immediately started us with blue balloons on round 1. But the 0-0 Dart Monkeys were actually covering the first few rounds pretty well, and I even had some extra money left over as well. Thank you Double Cash. So, the next thing I did was get up a few 0-0 engineers around the map, which I'm planning to upgrade to 1-0 as soon as I can afford to do so. This gave me enough defense to then save up for my first farm, and after a few more rounds, I switched from using the Dart Monkey specialist building to now using the engineers, which I probably should have done earlier honestly, but it didn't even matter when I immediately went on to lose to the first camo on round 24 because I simply had totally forgotten about it. And then, even more embarrassingly, I still didn't have any camo detection by round 33 when the next camo balloons came out, so you can call this cheating, but I did use a pontoon in order to actually be able to place a village directly in the center of the map where you have this lake, and you might notice that the village has absolutely massive range, which is thanks to the premium upgrade bigger beacons. And at this point, I had managed to get up 7 banana farms that were 2-0, so I just sold one of them off in order to afford the radar scanner upgrade. After that, I had to get some more defense for the first ceramic balloons on round 35, and then I was actually able to get up my first 4-2 banana factory, which is always a great sign, and I also spammed down some more 1-0 engineers in order to continue surviving with cheap defense. But the first Moabs on round 40 did manage to take us out. So I tried getting a 4-0 balloon shipper in the spot where our defense had failed, as this can actually catch Moab class balloons and hold them in place until they're destroyed, which, sure enough, ended up getting us through round 40. So I then started upgrading my 1-0 engineers into 4-0 balloon traps in order to try and generate some extra income, while also being able to catch the ceramic balloons before they managed to escape. Additionally, I got a few more 4-2 balloon shippers to cover the map better as well. And after that, things honestly got pretty simple, as I was able to easily build up more defense along with continuing to farm, although I wasn't doing so optimally, but still. This allowed me to begin getting down sun gods along with even more chippers. Once I had over 500,000 saved up, I knew it was pretty safe to actually switch over to the Super Monkey specialist building and finally get rid of all the engineers that were basically taking up the entire map with all their sentries. This allowed me to significantly improve my farming as I began filling the map with 2-4 snipers in order to use their supply crate upgrade, and I also got down a 2-4 village in order to give our 4-2 energy beacon in the center even more range than it already had, which means it can basically cover the entire map now and hit every sniper at once, which cuts down their ability cooldown times by 50%, effectively doubling our income generation. I ended up managing to get the entire map filled with sniper farms just before actually beating Mastery Impoppable, before I did something that was incredibly dumb. I kid you not, I saw this daily task pop up where you have to beat a special mission, and my caveman brain actually went and started up the Moab Madness one, completely ignoring that it would delete my saved game. But this did actually give me the chance to try something that I'd wanted to challenge myself with before. That is, managing to create a regen farm while playing on this map. Typically, if you were regen farming on a beginner map, like my favorite one, Express Shipping, you would only have one path to defend and a ton of track length to farm the balloons on as well. But with Tar Pits, you get neither such luxury. Instead, you have to find a way to regen farm on one of the tiny circle paths that this track offers, while also making sure to defend the balloons from escaping on the other 4 paths as well. But if I could manage to pull this off, it would allow me to quickly farm 20 or 30 million extra cash, which I could then use to set up the perfect defense for the rest of the entire run. Now, it was actually quite easy for me to get this new run going strong since I already knew exactly what to do from the first one, but once I got to round 61, which is where you get 150 rainbow regrow balloons that you can regen farm with, the setup I attempted to use simply destroyed all of the rainbow balloons way too quickly and never gave them a chance to actually be farmed. So I tried again with glue and ice to slow them down and hopefully give the balloons more time to regrow, but I set this up completely wrong, so then I tried totally switching things up by getting rid of all of my sun gods for ninjas, which ideally wouldn't be able to shoot across the entire map and destroy balloons at the top. And at first, it seemed like this was actually going to work, as I did manage to get what seemed like the beginnings of a regen farm going, but the balloons still ended up getting destroyed. And when I quit out of the game to try again, it turned out that round 61 had already been considered as completed, meaning I now lost the opportunity. So the only regrow balloons that are coming up are now going to be ceramics. And I had the crazy idea to actually try regen farming them on round 79, but when I failed on my first attempt, I realized this was actually starting to become more of a waste of time than a potential opportunity. And thus, I went back to relying on a map full of sniper farms, which are insanely efficient anyways, so my money quickly started skyrocketing. Now I did lose on round 87 with a rather bare bones defense, so I set up some more balloon chippers around each path and also got a few 2-4 ninja and ice monkeys in order to gain their advanced slowdown abilities, as the ninja ability slows down all newly spawned balloons for 15 seconds and the ice slows down everything on screen, with both of these stacking together to create an insanely powerful effect. And I should have mentioned this before, but once you actually beat round 85 in BTD5, every round moving forward has a random combination of ceramics, Moabs, BFBs, and ZOMGs. And since we're playing on Mastery mode, it's actually just the Moab class balloons now. Additionally, every single round moving forward, they will be gaining extra speed and health, which happens extremely quickly on Impoppable mode. This meant that even the early free play rounds were looking absolutely insane, especially from my perspective, since I normally do these late game challenges while playing on easy mode. Now, with my map still nearly full of 2-4 snipers, my plan was to just see how long I could rely on this current defense in order to generate as much extra money as possible, and assuming it's enough, that's when I'll sell off everything and set up the final defense that I plan to use in order to survive for as long as possible. I was quite surprised as we actually continued making it through some really tough rounds, like on round 100 when the RBE counter had already surpassed 3 million. This allowed us to actually save up over $30 million before finally losing around 108, which I definitely think should be more than enough money. So it's about time I sell off all this stuff and show you what defense I actually plan to use for the rest of this run. The first thing should be pretty obvious, but I'm going to fit as many Super Monkey temples on the map as I possibly can. And I plan to start off by positioning the base 00 Super Monkeys first, but I wanted to see just how close you can actually get them, so I tested one out before doing that. Now if you aren't aware, in order to make the temple as strong as possible, you need to sacrifice at least $30,000 worth of any tower you'd like, which I usually just use another Super Monkey for, and then you have to sacrifice another $30,000 worth of specifically ice towers, glue gunners, wizard monkeys, and bomb towers / mortar towers. And because of the wiki, I used to think there were certain ways to actually get more optimal than this, but I've since been informed that isn't actually true by people who know how to look into the game's code. Now, I could be wrong, but I believe 13 Super Monkeys is about the limit on the Steam version of Tar Pits, which is a bit smaller than the version on mobile. If I didn't have the pro version of the pontoon unlocked though, I could definitely fit a 14th one, but unfortunately, having it as a pro special agent gives whatever towers you place on top of it extra range. So, I began turning all of the Super Monkeys into max temples, which definitely wasn't easy in some spots, like up here in the upper right corner, where you're losing half the tower's range, plus a big rock is taking up part of the other half of the range that should be available, and the same thing happened with the bottom right corner, and then especially the bottom middle, where a giant tar pit gets right in your way. But eventually, I had them all set up. This meant I can move on to getting the rest of the map filled up with balloon chippers, which took me a solid 20 minutes on its own, partially because this map has a lot of annoying things to work around, like the giant tar pits in the center. But once that was done, I upgraded all of them to 4-2 and set their targeting to strong, so that hopefully we can catch pretty much every single Moab class balloon for a while. Now, in honor of my video where I got to round 1000 on the easiest map while playing easy mode without any activated abilities, I'm first going to see how far we can get without them here, before I then begin using the Call to Arms ability from my 2-4 village, along with the slowdown abilities from the Ninja and Ice Monkeys. Now, I just want to say, if you've been enjoying the recent videos, you might not even realize that you aren't subscribed because of how YouTube's algorithm recommends content. So if you haven't already, it seriously goes a long way to helping this video reach more people. Beyond that, I actually have a Discord server for this channel as well, which will be linked in the pinned comments. Finally, I do just want to say that I know the recent videos have been a little bit smaller in terms of their scale compared to what I was doing in December, so I really am planning to take things back up to the max now that my wrist has been better and everything seems to be good. So please, if there is any content you'd want to see in the future, just let me know in the comments. I actually read every single comment that I get, and you might notice sometimes it takes me a day or more to heart your comment, and that's because I don't actually heart them until I've made sure to at least read what was said, and thus, any ideas you throw my way will have a 100% chance of being considered. Now, with all that being said, you might be surprised that we're still alive past the round 150 mark. At least I certainly was. Given that I still haven't used any of the special abilities yet, I'm really curious just how much further we'll actually get with them now. But eventually, the defense finally did succumb to round 174, which again is extremely impressive. Now, I did change up my defense just a little bit, the main thing being that I realized you can fit 2 villages on 1 pontoon, so now I had a 2-4 and 4-2 covering essentially the entire map. I also had to make a bit of space for a few ice and ninja monkeys, so I sold off the balloon chippers that seemed to be reaching the least amount of track in order to replace those. And after that, it was go time. Although I pretty much immediately noticed that it seemed like I actually managed to place my ninja monkeys on the only spot on the entire map that the energy beacon cannot reach, meaning their cooldowns weren't getting reduced in half. So I fixed that, and now it really was go time. And unsurprisingly, with the addition of so many powerful activated abilities, our defense was now able to carry on well, and pretty quickly had surpassed the round 200 mark. And at this point, I'm not even using the Vengeful Temple ability that you get from the Super Monkey special disbuilding, simply because that will cause extra lag and force me to begin playing the game in slow mode, at least eventually. But I did proceed to lose on round 205 and then 206 without using the ability, and if you didn't know, when the Vengeful Temple is active, it doubles the attack rate of the temple along with giving it 2 main beams instead of just 1. Now I won't lie, I tried still playing in fast forward mode and actually lost on round 207 with the use of some Vengeful Temples, but my abilities were extremely unoptimal, so I took the plunge and finally slowed the game down for the final stretch. And I honestly thought I would survive for a lot longer, but was kinda surprised to end up losing on just round 216. Of course, I did want to at least give it one more try, which allowed me to reach round 219, but I have to be totally honest, this isn't like the record or something. In fact, a player named Superman88 managed to reach round 300, and as you can see, he actually fit a few more temples than I was able to, and he also used the first strike abilities on the subs as well. According to his Reddit post, each round actually did take several attempts to beat, and he had to quit out of the game hundreds of times just to actually make it to round 300, which definitely makes a lot of sense given how badly that the RNG can affect you on a map like Tar Pits. So, huge respect to Superman for setting such an impressive world record, and if this video gets to 2,000 likes somehow, I'll actually really try to beat it myself.